Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to start off with a look at the Grand Finals and, of course, some of the Chengdu coaching changes and maybe even taking a look at the wheel.
And after that, we actually get to go live on location as Jath and Ave return. They finally made it to Korea. Wow, we shipped them over in a shipping container. But we'll hear what the state of their training facilities are in Korea.
And also then we'll take a final deep dive at the Seoul Dynasty, seeing what their process is going to be. We'll be doing that for every team here. I'm Avast, that is Jayne, and welcome to Contested.
Now, that won't make any sense to somebody who didn't watch the pre-show. But that's okay, because if you're here watching this, you did watch the pre-show. If you're not, though, we're live once again, Dallas, Texas, Frontier Communications Studio. And it is time for your Tuesday episode of Contested, and that is the most rambly intro I think that we have ever done.
We've messed up the intro because Mike was looking for the bell. So, we've just gone off the rails already.
I mean, it's gone off the rails, but that's about par for the course around here at Contested. So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well, honestly. It's a little gross outside.
It is. It has
tiny
been
bit
raining.
Gross, yeah. But I like that because it's not hot. It was a very mild summer for Texas.
Yeah,
I know I told you that before.
I barely managed to survive the August heat here in Dallas as it is, so I'm very, very excited as we head into fall.
It is the
and
first
then
summer I can say that the summer in Texas has been better than California. Ever. That's pretty impressive, right?
It was crazy. Like the first week of September or something, the temperature dropped down to about 20 degrees in Canadian units.
Yeah, non-freedom units.
The C doesn't stand for Celsius, it stands for Canadian. And then when I was walking to the office, a jogger walked by and he was wearing earmuffs while jogging, as if it was cold. And
maybe it was like a Bluetooth headset.
No, it was definitely earmuffs.
Oh, that's odd.
It was definitely earmuffs.
That's kind of odd.
It was very odd.
Well, I guess
Weird
then
Texans.
we should start today with do some current events. Since it is technically an Overwatch show, though we could spend the entire show rambling about various topics.
Yeah,
we could always do.
We still need to have the show where we just
ramble
and ramble.
It needs to happen.
It needs to happen.
This is just the problem of having so many projects and also so much split manpower everywhere. It's and then Rocket League keeps on taking my lunch money.
We should just host that show the hour before Contested, so we can just make the pre-show.
We should just essentially just steal. What's that? What's that one new network that got launched? It was like Vin.
Yeah.
We should just steal Vin, but call it Min. But make it the X.
It's men, you and me.
But I want it to
we
be
are
like
both men.
the Twitch emote form where it's like man, but it's like MEN. Min. Well, about Overwatch news. So current events before we get into our Grand Finals coverage, because as sort of a thing, we'll be doing a deep dive into talking about each team in the four teams that are going to Grand Finals and sort of like our thoughts about them, what we think is great, not great, sort of recipes for success, blah, 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 blah. But that's at the end of the episode because at the beginning, we're going to do current events. And currently, event-wise, Chengdu.
Yep.
Some bad news for Chengdu if you're a fan of Chin.
Yes.
And also if you're a fan of the wheel.
Chengdu. Personally, I'm not a fan of the wheel because the wheel lied to me.
The wheel lied to you.
I put my faith in the wheel, and honestly, I put my faith in Chen, and I have been. I won't say that I've been the most zealous supporter of the Chengdu Hunters because there are definitely people out there who. Love them even more and even less ironically than I love them. Yeah, probably.
There are people that legitimately, it's like that whole Yeedle Amon beef that happened.
That's been crazy. What do you think about that?
I think Yeedle's stupid, but
you think Yeedle's stupid?
That's really dumb. That was just dumb. What do you want from me to say? Like, what is a one trick in a streamer going to say that Amon is not as good as ball as him, right? Like, even if it's true, even if you might be correct, he could be totally right. But, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, exactly.
That's just silly.
I think that even if you, and I think that it's very clear that Yeedle is very proud of his ball skills. And he's a good player. 4,700 multiple times. He's got really no kind of professional or semi-professional experience. I think he mentioned that he played once in Contenders or something like that. So,
and did not. This whole thing is it's just not a lot of very impressive resume to be like, I am better than Amon at ball, who has played in the hardest division of Overwatch League and done incredible things.
Even when ball wasn't meta and still popped off, even playing against Overwatch League level Sombras and Maze with Overwatch League level coordination.
It's just kind of ridiculous. But that's a whole But that's some zealotry coming out from the Chengdu fans there and also the Yeedle fans. Man, streamers sometimes the fans can scare you.
Yeah,
luckily I don't have.
It is really kind of amazing. So. You've seen this all the time with especially people who get really chased after. But yeah, there are definitely Yeatle fans who believe that. And I think that I don't think Yeatle would have gone as hard at this. I don't think Yeatle's kind of the, wouldn't do this like kind of like 200 IQ marketing where he's just trying to get his name out there by being like, I
just believe that he is a better ball.
And that's not a bad thing. And for a person to like really believe in their own skill level and have confidence in themselves, like, yeah, you maybe get an ego check, but the man's confident and he is.
That's always good somewhere,
If he's not the best, he's probably top 3, top 5 balls of North American ladders. So
he's got some great balls.
He does have some fantastic balls.
Great. Yeah. I saw that Mike typed that joke earlier in the chat, by the way. He said he's great ball skills.
Has chat identified which Twitch chat lurker is actually a producer?
I wonder.
They
must know.
They must know
at this point. But
he astroturfs the chat.
He does. He really does.
Chat, one of you is a producer. Look to your left. Look to your right. If neither of them are the producer, is it you?
I'm a producer of things. I'm a producer of laughs, great thoughts.
Yep.
Also, we produce skits, and one of those skits was the Wheel of Chengdu. And I think where is
See, I looked for the wheel, but we lost
it. Oh, that's right.
Oh.
So, if you guys aren't aware, Chin, the coach for Chengdu, they actually sort of turned them around from what was looking pretty bad for Chengdu this season after they lost their original coach, Rui, who has come back. Rui, their original coach, come back, actually. I think it's pronounced Rui, right? Or is it
Ray?
Ray?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm so wrong. Ray has come back, and Ray actually had okay results with Ray. I think they had better results with Chin, but now Chin's gone, so we need to retire a very special segment in our hearts.
The Wheel of Chengdu.
The Wheel of Chengdu.
Now,
his face is on here.
Now we have to decide what to do with it because we were originally.
Well, first of all, I'm taking the face off. Let's play the somber music.
Wait, we're actually playing taps?
No, it's not taps.
What is this?
Just a sad song.
It's just a generic sad song 4.mp4.
Just a sad song for Chin.
Goodbye, Chin.
Goodbye, Chin.
It's like that scene from Inglourious Bastards.
Goodbye, the Wheel of Chengdu. You're just a wheel now. Oh, goodbye. So Chin is gone.
I think that we should put Ameng, or I was going to say Yeatle, but that probably would make even less sense.
No, definitely not Yeatle. Definitely not Yeatle.
But we should just put in the middle of it, instead of the Wheel of Chengdu, just the Wheel of Ameng, and have
if we can just get a Ray-Ban
sponsorship,
we can have the Ray-Bans, the Ray-Bans, or something like that. And so hit me up.
I guess we used all of our good ideas during the pre-show.
No, we haven't even begun.
And that means that somebody should come and stop us because things are going to get out of hand.
The Wheel of Ray, dude. That's not a good one.
No,
I don't like that one. I'm going to put Chin on my lap over right here beneath the Acer logo.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that good? Look, it looks like he has a crown almost.
I'm kind of jealous. I want one.
Yeah, maybe we get our own chins, separate individual chins. So hey, there it is. It's like he's here. He's never left. But the Wheel of Chin has been retired. Chin is gone. So we'll have to see how They also released Gary and Dakabi, I believe is how you say the name, but probably wrong again. Yep. They released several coaches, and so they're probably doing a full staff rebuild now that Ray has returned.
I mean, that worked out for the Shanghai Dragons. Look at that.
It did. I mean, sometimes you just buy a new team.
Sometimes you just light a stick of dynamite and throw it under the team table. So
Chengdu, if you're a fanatic Chengdu fan, this could be great. I don't know. I was actually pretty impressed with the way they identified their strengths. So I was pretty impressed with Chin as a head coach, honestly. And he is a caster, shocking enough, which is actually kind of, as an industry, we've seen a lot more of that happening. Like in League of Legends or even CSGO, like Henry G, or also, though granted, Henry G was also a player, or Jath in League. Like they've all gone back, some casters go back and be coaches now. So that's a pretty interesting thing. But we'll have to see where Chengdu actually goes from here because they had, I would say, once again, another okay season. The definition of okay.
Yeah. I'm just a random aside there thinking about that. Because in English, especially, the North American casters, they're a lot more entertainers than kind of analysts. Is it standard for other countries to have kind of more analytical style casting? Do you know?
That's a great question. People always hype up like Korean casting style as being very hype because that's just how Korean language and broadcast flows. Is that it's far less like in some ways structured than English broadcasting is. It's very interesting. I've had actual like broadcast, like super broadcast professionals that they've done like produce jobs, like sort of talk about it to me. And it's like, oh, okay. But I think on average they try to like sometimes find a better balance between analytical and not. But it's tough because realistically I don't speak the language, and I don't understand what they're saying. So it's tough for me to get a personal opinion on it. So that's Chengdu. Now, Speaking of big changes, speaking of
changes
of teams that have done better than the Chengdu Hunters, even though Chengdu Hunter fans will not like to hear that. There are 4 teams going to the grand finals, and ourselves, we can't go to Seoul.
We're busy. We have to be here in the studio in Dallas, Texas.
In Dallas, Texas, the Frontier Communications Studio. That's true. We can't go there to get the scoop from the ground, but we have 2 unpaid, uninsured interns that can.
We didn't send them business class. We didn't send them even economy. We sent them by shipping container. Yeah, and they finally arrived.
And they've gone there. Let's take a look at them. Thank you, Avast and Jayne. It is us, unpaid interns extraordinaire, Ave and Jath, and Jath has a very sturdy microphone grip, but I mean, that makes sense. We don't have a lot of budget here. The microphones take up most of our budget.
They're extremely weighty, and I just got so impressed. This is kind of a performance stance because we have seen some pretty amazing things from the Korean training facility, and personally, I'm just wanting to up my technique, my performance, because I have been inspired.
You would need a lot more money to do so. I mean, comparatively, we spent some times with both squads, the NA teams and the APAC teams. And the APAC teams, I mean, they have their multi-billion-dollar training facilities. And they haven't had to leave. There's no quarantine for them, for the most part. They've been here. They're getting jacked. They're getting powerful. They're playing on IBM Watson gold-plated 24-karat diamond connector computers compared to, I don't even know what the NA teams are currently playing on. I'll have to come back and check my notes again on those. But the APAC teams are looking very, very confident right now.
They are looking supremely confident, and we managed to sneak some cameras into their training facility, and by sneak, I mean we were invited, because they had nothing to hide. They want to show off, and they want to intimidate the North American teams coming to compete, and, well, we are more than happy to oblige. So take a look at this behind-the-scenes exclusive footage from the Korean training facilities.
Wow, they're looking extremely vascular. They're looking I mean, I cannot believe that Lee Jae-gong has gained 120 pounds of pure muscle mass in 3 months.
Yeah, when I heard that, I could hardly believe it. Even looking at some of the footage that we took ourselves, it's hard to believe that these are even esports players.
It's almost humanly impossible.
Almost humanly impossible, and yet the evidence is presented to our own eyes.
Before our very eyes.
I mean, they honestly look more like bodybuilders and weightlifters than esports players.
That's what billions of dollars of esports money invested just flowing through APAC can do. And right now, they're grizzled. They're scarred from getting the top 2 in APAC. So they're looking confident coming into the grand finals. But we also spent some time with the NA teams, Jath. We spent a little bit of time sitting outside their windows, peering in what they were doing. And they look like they hadn't seen sunlight for 2 weeks.
Yes, it's been a while, certainly, since they've seen sunlight. And when we say we've seen them, it's been from the other side of that double-paned glass.
They wouldn't let us in either.
No,
we tried. They wouldn't recognize our credentials.
They're in quarantine. So immediately after they arrived off the plane, they did 2 things. They picked up their Nintendo Switch from the airport gift shop, and then they went right into quarantine. And, I mean, we've been passing notes through the window, but the communication
And they picked up those Switches
limited.
because none of them have PCs. There's no facilities here. Only Moth, who built a mini arc reactor PC. This caused some power surges in the quarantine facilities. But it's all playing on Switches right now for the NA teams, which is, if you watch NA teams play, that not too much different than normal.
It's really not that different.
Yeah.
However, no, they aren't able to scrim with their PCs, other than, of course, Moth, who brought his own little arc reactor PC, hid it in his wristwatch. But the rest of them, I mean, maybe
Inspector Gadget.
It definitely reminds me of that. But yes, and the other thing is that there is also the chance that American hubris reaches peak all time as they're getting an unexpected confidence boost from actually being able to win things on the Switch ladder compared to their normal scrims.
And also after being little jelly boys for getting top 2 NA. But we managed to sneak inside, despite them rejecting our credentials, into the NA facilities and get a look at what it's been like in the quarantine here for the top 2 NA teams. much like regular NA sports, just not practicing, not scrimming. I can tell that your microphone posture is starting to get to you.
I mean, I can see why this is part of the APAC training routine.
Keep it up and they might pay us, though. Okay?
I'm working on it.
So keep on working it up. But so far, NA Sports, it looks like they're taking a little break. Pretty par for the course, despite not having PCs, I'd say. But really, that's only the amount of time that we get so far because we're not allowed most places. We don't have any actual credentials. We don't have any money or food. Actually, help us, just in general. But that was Ave and Jath here on the streets of Seoul, and hopefully we can continue our coverage without dying first. And throw it back to you, Avast and Jayne. Wow, Ave and Jath once again doing excellent reporting, but they put in a little bit of fluff there at the end. They keep on hearing these faint cries for help, and I'm like, that's not what we're not paying you for.
I mean, if they would just hurry up and win a Pulitzer, that they'd be able to sell that for food money. But you know what? I guess they're just not working hard enough.
All this complaining and not enough, working for free. And I just can't abide that realistically. But they're already there, so good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck. They'll be doing perhaps some continuing coverage. Maybe we'll have to see if we can get a hold of them again.
It's not like they have enough money for a return ticket, so I assume that they're going to be busking on the streets.
Maybe we got like a postage stamp.
A postage
Get them back in the container and send them back.
I'm not sure if you send things on container ships with postal stamps.
Not just a really big postage stamp.
Do we just put it on Jath's forehead?
Maybe. I mean,
let's give it a shot. What's the worst that could happen?
We could always try. Could be. It's like the people that hide out in like grocery stores overnight, but like shipping containers.
Either way, we do hope you enjoyed our live on location reporting from Jath and Ave. And of course, once the grand finals roll around October 8th and 10th, well, we've got nowhere else to go, so we'll bring more coverage later on in the season.
Yes, we will. And really, I have to say, we gleaned a lot of insight from there because right now, legitimately, they don't have the facilities are kind of imbalanced, I'd say, between NA and APAC. Like APAC teams, they didn't have to really deal with quarantine in terms of travel. They have their own facility sort of there set up. They have PCs. We've seen images from all the players that they've shared where like they're in laptops. Pretty much only Moth has a real PC, or I guess their Switch, their Nintendo Switches,
their Nintendo
Switch version of Overwatch. So it is gonna be interesting, and they can't really scrim properly because of that. How that's going to affect NA teams going into grand finals? Because I feel like on every level, APAC teams should just have a home field advantage.
Very large advantage for quite a few reasons.
It should be huge in terms of when we're going to the grand finals. But we'll do more of that coverage heading into the grand finals because continuing that coverage, we're going to be doing a deep dive into the 4 teams.
I was playing charades. I was expecting you to keep talking.
Oh, I thought you wanted to like pass it along.
I was just going to start miming.
I was going to start instead. Yeah. Do you know how to swim?
Yes.
Okay.
Does anyone not?
No, lots of people don't know how to swim.
Really?
Yeah. Can you believe that?
Actually, no. But
no, I had a girlfriend that didn't know how to swim.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah. It's actually much more common than you think. That is unrelated to the next topic. That is actually an unrelated topic though, because our first team they're starting out with here is the Seoul Dynasty. The Seoul Dynasty, this squad has been its whole history, honestly, as a franchise, has been huge expectations and never fulfilling them.
Yep.
And I think this might be the year they might fulfill them.
You think so?
I think it could be.
Really?
Because didn't I say that because my prediction was I think it's going to be a double APAC finals.
Yes.
Of Dynasty Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dynasty actually, this is like a really, really good meta for them right now. The previous meta so far, it seems like they never were able to find synergy, in particular with their tank line and how they were using their tank line. And like the DPS performances were sometimes great, sometimes meh, but it's always been an issue with tank line with Seoul more so. I mean, they even brought Slime in, who's one of the best main supports last year, and Toby once again consumed him. Like he does any other main support that tries to bench him.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I agree with you because, yes, they've had, their tank lineup has been one of the weakest, and this meta shift has definitely benefited them. And I think it benefited them a lot of the same ways that it benefited the Washington Justice, that, it freed them up to make more of these solo plays without actually needing to fully coordinate on a team level. And as for the DPS, yes, sometimes they've been on, sometimes they've been off. And Prophet, I think, has been a shining star. But, it might be weird to say. But now that we are in the top 4, I think Fitz is really kind of struggling, lagging behind. And like, it is my opinion that the Seoul Dynasty has the weakest DPS lineup of the 4 remaining teams in the Overwatch League.
You think so? They have the weakest? See, a lot of people, myself included, here's the crazy part. I actually think Fitz is kind of a hidden gem. Can you believe that's something we're actually that's probably
I mean, he's hiding real nice right now.
See, you don't agree, but a lot of players have come out and said, like Nero most recently is like, yeah, I think Fitz is really good. And I personally think that Fitz is actually pretty good too. I think Fitz, that's why it was so interesting to me when we had some other carryover players from the Dynasty season from last year, because I always felt that like Fitz, like Illicit, I was never huge on Illicit, but I actually thought Fitz was pretty good. Mm-hmm. And I feel like Fitz has had great moments. So I personally think
he's definitely had great moments, but we're talking top 4 now.
That's true. We are talking top 4. But as long as he's on like a hot streak, and then it's like...
so we're back to Coin Flip Dynasty.
It's sort of like Coin Flip, but I think the meta is good for them now. I think Gesture just is playing for his actual life.
Yes.
Someone said that in chat, and I'm just kind of take that.
You're just going to yoink that.
I'm going to yoink that.
I've never done that before. I always have original comments.
Dude, is that so? Only originality from you?
Only originality. He might be a hidden gem, but he sure as hell ain't shining right now.
Delvinky? Have you seen that?
No.
Okay, never mind. But that's for the Zoomers. That's a reference for the Zoomers out there. But
you know, when you look at the Shanghai Dragons, you know, it's first of all in the match between the Shanghai Dragons and the Seoul Dynasty. Like, props to the Seoul Dynasty, they played really well. You know, the map 5 wasn't the closest map because at that point the Shanghai Dragons, you know, in my opinion, I think Shanghai Dragons were trying to hide some of the cards they had, and Seoul Dynasty played well enough to force the Shanghai Dragons to show their hog comp. And then, especially when we went into Lijiang Tower on this map, this match, I don't think either team really had prepared Lijiang Tower, or nearly as much at least, because it was a map 5. And in that map, the Shanghai Dragons, they changed tank compositions for both of the different maps on Lijiang, but they still looked more coordinated than the Seoul Dynasty. Now, obviously, that Shanghai Dragons probably one of the most, if not the most, coordinated teams in the entire league. But it was very apparent that, especially Gesture's doing great work. You know, he's trying to hard carry and doing a pretty good job.
And that's what Gesture's great at. That's what's so good about this tank line for Seoul now, is like, it's like everything about Seoul, it feels like they're like a giant hive mind biomass where they must take a certain amount of like, because that's what they do for main support players. Every main support player that comes in, Toby consumes them, uses them for biofuel. Every off-tank player that joins Seoul is now eaten by Gesture and Marvel. So it seems like, though, they're sort of designed around, they need the pop-off that Gesture brings, and they need the synergy that Toby brings, and also the flexibility.
Yes.
And they finally hit a meta where they can both, not only can Toby be in, but Gesture can be in all the time, and he can play something where their lack of coordination at times, especially like with how they've worked with their main tank and off-tank roles, is not going to hurt them anymore. So the meta for me just feels so perfect for Seoul, and they have all the pieces. And yes, Fitz and Profit, in terms of consistency compared to their top 4 DPS lines, I would agree they're probably the least consistent. But if they're in stride, I really do think that Seoul are in my eyes, I think are a contender to potentially win. Can you believe I'm saying that?
I mean, you've had some bad takes before, so it doesn't exactly shock me.
I have been down on Seoul for almost 3 years now, and this is finally where I'm like, no, I'm kind of feeling okay about Seoul.
So if I was not considering the meta aspects of the Grand Finals and the fact that the North American teams are playing at a disadvantage and all of that, I would have placed Seoul probably, 4th in that. They had, I would say, a little bit of a lucky meta shift. Again, kind of comparing them to the Washington Justice there. That advantage is being reduced because of the amount of time between those games where the cards have been shown on the table and then when the actual Grand Finals are going to happen. So I wouldn't even place them to beat the North American teams, if there wasn't this quarantine nonsense going on.
Conventional logic would agree with you.
Yeah, but see, this is the worst part, because I've been telling you I told you so throughout the entire season, but if you get this Grand Final prediction right,
then it won't matter.
It won't matter.
It won't matter.
It won't matter one bit.
This is just how I feel about it, because this is not like just a holistic thing. I don't think Seoul as a team has been better than any of the other top 2 North American teams this whole year. No. I think they've been categorically worse. I just think currently, in this moment of time, when I do the highest...
In this moment of time? Are you looking forward, or are you looking at that...
I'm looking, this moment of time is meaning the encapsulation of the Overwatch League Grand... Like, when I do the Heisenberg uncertainty principle,
okay,
and I take the momentum in the direction...
Opening bracket before playoffs, closing bracket after
Yes.
Grand Finals. That moment in time.
This moment of time.
All
This
right.
one snapshot of time, Seoul Dynasty are a better team than them. Only because of the quarantine, the lack of scrim. I'm including that as part of it.
Yeah.
And also just the particular meta for Seoul right now.
Okay. So if you're going to argue that creative's definitely on the team, but
Creative is playing for them.
great. So the three things that I think the Seoul Dynasty really struggle with is that I think their DPS are the weakest, especially Fitz, a bit flip-floppy, and great DPS
But Prophet
duo.
really should be considered the weakest DPS though.
Of the 4 teams, like
I think Prophet when Prophet is still right now when it's Prophet, dude. That guy's nuts.
it's Carpe, it's Hisu, it's and
Prophet, it's Prophet.
it's Fleta, the Overwatch League
Prophet.
It's Prophet, it's Fleta.
You know what else was MVP? It's year 1, Jonak. Did his team win Grand Finals? The answer is no.
You can't argue with that.
The answer is no.
Can't argue with that.
MVP doesn't necessarily mean
So you have a airtight argument about the DPS, but what about creative? I think that he's serviceable certainly, but especially when you're looking at the firepower of other flex supports from other teams.
I know. I will agree. So one thing I'll say, 100%, I think creative of the top 4 teams is the weakest flex support.
Okay, so we agree with that.
I 100% agree with that. Yes.
And why is that not a problem?
That is a problem. But it doesn't matter.
But it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter if you've got playoffs Prophet, playoff Gesture. They've already reserved 10,000 liters of soju at the club afterwards. They've already prepared to walk in, surf it down the stairs, and they ride that wave of soju to the VIP booth. They're already ready. I'm telling you, playoffs Prophet, playoffs Gesture, that's powerful. It's powerful, dude. And also, I legitimately think people underrate Fitz. So...
Who is the picture on a Avast laptop? It's Chen.
Chen.
The former
The
now
former
coach
the,
from
the
from
former
Chengdu Hunters.
icon of the wheel of Chengdu.
It's okay, Chen. You'll be back someday. Okay, so I'll stop trying to poke holes in your theory. Sell me, try and convince me that the Seoul Dynasty are the team that I should be cheering for and that I'm an idiot for thinking the Shanghai Dragons are going to win instead. Yeah,
So pretty much, no. Listen. Wait. So here's my reasoning. So you want me to convince you whether they're going to win, not just be top 2?
I mean, you could start with convincing me they're going to be top two.
Okay, so here's one. Their tank line right now is, in my opinion, in the meta, when we're talking about Hog Zarya, or also they specifically play a lot of Hog Sigma or Hog Diva, I think looks better than the Shock tank line. Because Shock have a problem.
I will agree.
Where Super is the only player on that roster that can play both main tank and off tank at a very good level. Smurf is, serviceable at Zarya, serviceable at other off tanks. Fantastic Winston, incredible Winston Orisa. His main tank not to be questioned, but his off tank right now, which what you need is a player that can play off tank, but it can also play main tank, is sort of not the level, and that leaves Super, who has not had as much scrim time, but also more importantly, I just don't think the team is currently built around. They're not built around playing with Super as much.
I will agree with you on Shock.
It's not that, yeah. So that's my number one reason why I feel like Seoul surge ahead of Shock. Yes, I would also say that they do have a worse support lineup. I think Toby on his good days actually is a great thing about Toby is that he's more flexible than Moth. Mm-hmm. Toby, they can have him play anything, so Toby never has to leave, which increases synergy, and he's just a very solid staple. But they have Creative, who definitely I don't put Creative on the level of Twilight or Violet. But then that just leaves tank line, support line difference, so kind of like we're at a net, 0. And then DPS. And you're going to be like, well, Ons and Striker, these guys are they're amazing, right? Which they are. But playoffs Prophet and the underrated Fitz, he's a clean fit. I'm actually feeling playoff Prophet looks so good. Looks so good. And he's so flexible too. Because also that's the other thing is that in terms of the flex DPS role, Shock are still a little bit lacking on flex DPS role, it feels at times, because it seems like they're still not comfortable putting Rascal in.
Yeah, which is strange.
Because they have Rascal, and he can play, but Seoul has a perfectly 100% warmed up, ready to go Prophet, and I think Fitz is the wild card, but I think Fitz is a really good DPS player if he's on. If he's off, then well.
Yeah, I think that the two of us are definitely... it's if Fitz can show up. You call him underrated. I say he's underperforming. So maybe one follows the other sort of thing. But if Fitz shows up and if Fitz can at least rise to the level, I say at least, but if Fitz can rise to the level of playoff Prophet and maybe be a threat on the same level where other resources.
He doesn't necessarily have to be playoff Prophet level because it's sort of like a bird ring Prophet scenario from London season 1. It's Prophet just needs someone to make sure that he can do what he wants.
And that's what I was trying to get to.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, there we go.
Exactly.
Well, there we go.
See, this is not actually contested. This is uncontested. We agreed with each other.
Well, we had some contested and uncontested.
Yeah.
Because, you know.
We'll just say the same thing two different ways. But yes, so if Fitz shows up, Seoul Dynasty have a chance. I still think that their overall coordination is not sufficient. Especially compared to the Shanghai Dragons. I do think Jester is doing fantastic, and Marvel's doing a good job as well. And Marvel is probably, more of that glue. He's not doing that same kind of hard carry style as Jester and Prophet are trying to do. And he is basically the anchor to the team play. But, the Shanghai Dragons just look way more coordinated, way faster to react to things, and much quicker adaptation. And when you have this 3-week break going to the Grand Finals, I think that adaptation that the Shanghai Dragons have time and time again proved that they can adapt mid-match. I think that is a scary combo. It's like we don't have to try and we won't talk about the Shanghai Dragons too much in detail because they'll get their own episode later on. But I think that's
it's actually the next episode.
It is the next episode.
Next episode is Dragons. So. And then we'll do NA teams.
But yeah, I am.
So here's my thing. I am ceding to you that I think it's a very low chance that Dynasty win. I'm pretty much just asserting that I think Dynasty are going to be top 2. That's the big thing.
Yes.
Do I think they could win? Yes. I do think they could, because also people are like, well, what about coaching staffs here, right? Sure. Coaching staffs. Also, I guess I didn't do the rest of the comparison with like Fusion, for example. So Fusion, once again, I think the tank line is at this point pretty comparable between Fusion Dynasty. Their DPS line, very good.
Very good.
But playoff profit.
Playoff profit.
And then support line is definitely better for Fusion. But the thing about Dynasty is that right now, and it's sort of the Justice effect. It's sort of like the Justice effect where this particular meta, it's not that synergy isn't important. It still is extremely important. It's more of the fact that because it is lent itself to a much more brawly style and a much more it reminds me almost of dare I say it, 2016 Envy of this team.
Surprisingly, yeah, actually.
This team does not play coordinated Overwatch. This team just shoot people real good. And that's sort of how I feel about Dynasty. And sometimes just shooting people real good is what you need. Mm-hmm. And this is the perfect meta for it. And so that's why I'm feeling so confident about, because the organic just poundage that happens when a team just shoot people real good is something that can't be underestimated, because it happens all the time where a team just hits their stride at the exact moment they need, the exact meta they need, and all their mechanical skill just pops off. And that's why I'm feeling so confident about Dynasty, though it is a little bit harder comparison to Fusion because they sort of have a lot of that same star power at points, that same raw pop off. But I'm just feeling Dynasty, I'm just feeling it. So that's really my argument for top 2 is perfect meta, and I'm feeling it.
Fair enough.
Perfect meta, I'm feeling
it. Chat, what you let us know. What do you think? Both in the live chat here, we can see what you think. Do you think that Seoul's going to win it all? Do you think they're going to be out first? And of course, if you're listening to this pre-recorded on podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, let us know in the review section.
We still have mailbag.
Yeah, but I still want to hear what people think.
I don't.
You don't? You don't care? You don't care about
because
the
everyone's going to be like, Avast downing Krusty again.
I think
Pepe
Avast is dumb. Steakman. What do you have to say to that, Avast?
See, exactly. That right there. I'm going to hear what else? I'm going to hear next your cousins and your nieces and your nephews I don't like it. They don't like you, Avast. I was like, well, what am I supposed to do with this information, huh? Am I going to write them a card? Sorry, you don't like me. Let's come to my house. And actually don't, because we can't, because we have to social distance. So, in fact, don't come to my house. And, I don't even care. So, mailbag.
Avast does not care. And that's,
so, mailbag.
That reaction indicates that he does not care. The depth of his not caring has become apparent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's true.
All right, well, before he starts drinking again. Mailbag.
I'm gonna drink a shot out of your head divot one day. One day. So our mailbag from last week is what happens to cause Shanghai to lose? And also, do you put ice in your water? Those were the 2 mailbag questions. So I'll scroll through my Discord first just to see what I got here. So Azzy Jazzy has Shock and Krusty will run over the world. If it's not bottled water, then ice, yes. No, then yes, ice. I like Jane's suit jacket, but hate yours. And my favorite movie is The Avast Commander Stream, and I do have amnesia. That was a wild ride. Would you like to give a response
to that?
Yeah,
no.
So just a response. That was
we
submitted.
had Saucy Seducer from the Contested Podcast subreddit. It says, for each team to win, Dragons, things go as planned. Shock, they have a significantly better understanding of the meta-comp's interactions and are more refined at it. That would be interesting if they were able to pull that off that fast without a lot of time actually looking at VODs or seeing gameplay from other people, but maybe. Seoul Dynasty, for them to beat the Dragons, playoffs level up to the players, and the best comp ends up being Hog Sigma. And they think that benefits Seoul.
It benefits Seoul, yeah. It does, but I think it benefits...
Dragons as well.
It essentially benefits every team that isn't...
Shock.
Yeah.
That kind of kneecaps Shock.
That's the thing,
that kind of kneecaps Shock.
Yeah.
And then for Philly to beat the Dragons, better understanding of which comp beats which and individual players popping off when needed. Yep, I'd agree with that.
Fair.
And then the second question, ice with straw. No ice without straw.
Ice with straw.
Don't like getting attacked by ice.
Getting attacked by ice?
I hate it when ice attacks me. I also hate it when trees...
90 degrees? Like, it's like you're just
Do you know what 90 degrees is? I would like you to form a 90-degree angle with your hands.
I mean, okay. You know what I'm saying? Like straight up 45? No, it's not 45 either.
Oh my God.
180?
Keep going.
180?
Maybe.
No, that's
Try
90
again.
because 90, that's like 90, but this way. So 0 degrees. I don't know. Whatever. I don't remember my radian circle. Okay, that's not the point. That's not the point. That's not the point. The point here is that do you drink like this? Are you taking a shower when you drink?
An ice shower?
Well, next response from Turbo Brick. Shanghai will lose because of the power of Krusty is just too great. And the new signing of Jake on DPS will carry them through the finals. Also, I prefer ice in my water because I'm not a monster. Wow. Strong opinion on ice. Strong opinion.
And
there.
one more from the Contested Podcast subreddit as well, from original OG. Says, the Shock and the Grand Finals go together like peas in a pod, and therefore the Shock will go all the way. You know, a compelling argument.
That's very compelling.
And then the bonus question. I like my water with no ice because crunching on ice is bad for teeth and I will end up doing it.
Yeah.
Just to remove the source of the impulse.
Just get rid of the ice.
Just get rid of the ice.
Get rid of it.
Ice is bad. Don't ever go to Canada. You'll end up chewing on the lakes.
Chewing on the lakes. That would be crunchy. That would be crunchy. Well, our mailbag for this week. Is one that I have written down because I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Yeah, so the question that I would like you to answer this week is based on Avast's arguments for the Seoul Dynasty winning the Overwatch League. Question, is Avast dumb?
That's not a good question.
That's a great question.
Well,
it's a question I ask myself every single day.
That's fair enough. Well, I guess I found the other questions if you'd like to respond to those.
No, it's okay. We only need one.
Here's the second part of the question. Was Chin being let go by the Chengdu Hunters a good move or a bad move to be like Ray? You know, is this going to return Chengdu to potentially new heights? Is Chin being gone just something that actually kind of like kneecapped them a little bit, you know, brought them down? And also, what should replace the Wheel of Chin? Where should we put Chin next? You see him? Where should we put him
Where's
next?
Waldo? Just hide him somewhere
Just
in the
hide
studio.
Chin a new thing every day? Where should we put Chin? Where should he go?
Where should Chin go?
Should we even have a wheel-based segment?
Yeah.
I don't know. So answer those questions and more.
And more.
And more.
And what's the and more?
That was your question.
Are you trying out for the Washington Justice Open Tryouts?
Oh, yeah. Any grand finalist players going to the Washington Justice, let us know. But let us know there. Once again, screaming, we built this into the void. But no, the and more was specifically related to your question. It was related to that. But give us your answers there in my Discord, in the Envytv. When the video goes live on Envy.tv, or just Envytv actually on YouTube, just put in the comment section. We read it there. The podcast reviews, which no one has used. That
you haven't checked. You don't know that.
No one has used. So Mike checked the weekend. No one's used the podcast reviews. And then also we have a contested mailbag subreddit.
We do.
That you can use there as well. And also we get a thread posted on competitive Overwatch that also you could post your submissions there as well.
There's no excuse for not giving an answer to the mailbag question.
You have so many options. So many. You could send it to, if we had a PO, but we don't have a PO box.
Mike?
We could get a PO box, but how many people are actually going to use a PO box? That's so smart. We do like a treasure hunt. And if you can find the contested mailbag PO box, then I hit you over there. I don't know. I don't know what we would do with that. But send your responses there below. I'm Avast. That is Jane. Oh, that's right.
We're making stuff.
We're doing a lot of skit work Really good reminder, Mike. We're doing a lot of skit work. We're doing some more fun stuff here for the grand finals, sort of our coverage of the grand finals. We want it to be more special, we'll do a lot more skits because we got a little busy with it. And so there's no show Thursday. We're not getting kicked out by Rocket League on Thursday, but we are doing no show Thursday, and we'll be back again next Tuesday. And then we do 2 shows, though, the week of grand finals, Tuesday and Thursday. Yeah, so Tuesday, Thursday. There we go. That's the schedule. And that's been Contested.